there's a beautiful prophecy about the birth of Messiah in which it says that he would be born of a virgin. Let's look at that in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. It says, Lachen, yiten Adonai hu lachem ot, for behold, therefore the Lord will give you a sign. Hine ha'alma hara v'yoledet ben v'karat shmo Immanuel. And it says, and the alma, the virgin, will become pregnant and give birth to a son, and his name will be called, Immanuel, will be called God with us. Now, first of all, we see that it has to be a supernatural sign. Secondly, we see that this child has got to be God with us. So it's obviously speaking of a supernatural birth here. The problem for those who understand Hebrew is that the word there for virgin is not the normal word for virgin, which is betullah, but it's another word, which is the word alama, which has another meaning. Therefore, people that sort of attack our faith, they say, see, you're twisting that. That doesn't really mean virgin here. However, one answer to that is not only obviousness of the context, but remember that I told you that the Bible was translated 200 years before the time of Jesus. It was translated into Greek, and in that word they translated into Greek in the word parthenos, which is the clear word for the word virgin. So there's no doubt that the Jewish rabbis before the time of Jesus understood this passage meaning to be a virgin. Now, what I teach about this, now don't get upset till you give me a chance to explain it, is that Mary, the mother of Jesus, of course, his name was Miriam, not Mary. And that Mary's name, Miriam, was not a virgin. She was not a virgin. She was a virgin betrothed. Now, in biblical thinking, there is a big difference between a virgin and a virgin betrothed. A virgin is a woman who is not betrothed to somebody. Then she is just a single girl. And then if she becomes betrothed to someone, she becomes legally married, but not physically fulfilling the marriage. There's a very short period in which that woman can be a virgin betrothed, and then she becomes a wife or a woman. So there's 3 categories for that to happen. Why don't we see this today? What happened to betrothal? There basically are no betrothals today. Actually, when my wife and I got married, we decided to do a betrothal ceremony a month apart because we wanted to follow the biblical example. Today, let's see if anyone here knows this. Don't you answer the question. Does anybody know how you do a betrothal today in Judaism? Anybody else but our staff? All right, Tal, what's the answer? I got both Tals now. What would you, Yes, what happens in a Jewish wedding ceremony today, did you ever notice you drink 2 glasses of wine? The first glass of wine is a betrothal, and the second one is a wedding. Now, in ancient days, you did that far apart. Because there is no separation between the two, today you do it 5 minutes apart. Just to hold on to it. Now, why don't you need to do it anymore? Because that betrothal was only necessary for one person to be born. At one time in history, there had to be a woman who was both physically a virgin but legally married. She had to give birth to a child. I want you to understand this. If it had only been a virgin in a single girl, it would have not have fulfilled the prophecies because she could not have had the throne rights to David. This child could only have the throne rights to David if the father was married to the mother. Do you see the problem? The father of this child has to be married to the mother because the father has to be a descendant of David to give the child the legal authority to sit on the throne of David. Are you with me? But if they were married, then it couldn't pass it on because God had to have a virgin so that the child would be born of the Holy Spirit. So it's impossible. It's impossible to happen. That's what God wanted everybody to think. And he said, no, you didn't think of this. But what would happen if there was a virgin girl who's now legally married, not physically consummated, right during that period? If God touches her and brings a miracle and gives a child, then that child will have legal rights to the throne of David through the father because they're married, but be born of the Spirit of God miraculously through the mother because she's still physically a virgin. It's amazing. None of these prophecies could come to pass if the woman was either a wife or a single virgin. They could only come to pass where the child could have a double nature of both the son of David has to be married to the son of David, but born of the Son of God, the woman has to be a virgin. So how can you possibly have a father who is of the line of David and the mother who is a virgin giving birth to a child? Only if it was right in that period where that woman was legally married but not physically consumed, so that the child would be born physically of God and legally of the line of David. So he would be both the Son of God and the Son of David at the same time. Miriam could not have been a virgin in the biblical sense of the word. She had to be a virgin betrothed.